And I'm so excited to welcome New York Times best-selling author John Bacon, whose new book, The Gales of November, tells the untold story of the Edmund Fitzgerald, the 29 men who died when she sank, and the families that they left behind. John, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Madeline, thank you.
And so, first of all, why tell the story? What inspired you to really take this deep dive look into the Edmund Fitzgerald?
Good question. I've got a ton of books in my bookshelf back home on, must be 10 or 15 at least out there, trying to figure out what happened to the ship. And of course, that does interest me, and we have chapters on that as well. I think we advanced the conversation. But what drove me was not that, but the 29 men on the ship. Who were they? What are their jobs like? What are their lives like? What's it like on the ship? What's it like on shore? What are their families like, and where are their families? So it's trying to humanize the story that really drove me.
And so as you read through the book, it's clear that you did your homework. I mean, more than 100 interviews, tons of research. But as you were preparing for the book, was there any details or stories that really stuck out to you the most?
Oh, Lord help me. Yes, quite a few, of course. One, for example, Eddie Bindon, 47 years old, was about to retire, and 5 other guys on the ship were about to retire after this trip, including Captain Ernest McSorley. Eddie Bindon, the day before they left, on November 8th, a Saturday, went across from Superior, Wisconsin, where they're about to take off from, to Duluth, Minnesota, to buy his wife a 2-carat diamond ring, 25th anniversary, and for reasons, Madeline, only he would know. He did not tuck it away in his duffel bag as he normally would, and he'll see his wife in 3 days in Toledo. He gave it to a friend and told his friend to mail it to his wife. And of course, you know what happens. The ship goes down, and a few days later, his wife receives in the mail a 2-carat diamond ring, 25th anniversary, from her husband with a lovely note. And she wore that the rest of her life, and she never remarried. So one of those stories like that just tells you the lives these people lived.
Yeah, what a story that just stays with you. Was there anything that you weren't able to get? Were there any stories or pieces that you wanted that you weren't able to get confirmed?
This book is 388 pages long, and I cut it in half. So yes, there are quite a few. We had to go easy on the reader, of course, and cut a lot of it out, unfortunately. But we did get to 14 of the 29 families, and I also discovered 6 crewmen who had been on the ship, obviously before it went down, because as you said, all 29 went down with the ship. 6 crewmen had been on the ship and knew the captain, knew the crew, knew the ship itself, and 2 were on that year, actually. So all that we definitely kept.
So what was it like speaking to the family members of these 29 men? I mean, for so many people in Michigan, Edmund Fitzgerald is just a legend, but for them, they lived through it. They saw the heartache. What was that like talking to them?
Well, at first, they were understandably cautious. They had never spoken to a reporter before. But we built trust over time, in part through Bruce Lynn, the executive director of the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum in Whitefish Point, which you just showed some video of. So I can borrow some of his trust and credibility. That was very helpful. But ultimately, we became quite close in this process. And those poor people went through 10 or 15 interviews each before we were done. So they were cautious at first, but I think ultimately they felt very good about getting their fathers, their uncles, their cousins, their boyfriends' stories out in full. And that's what they feel good about.
And then, of course, we have to talk about Gordon Lightfoot's song. What really stuck out to me in the book was I didn't realize that the song that was released was the first time that song had ever been played. Tell me a bit about researching that aspect of the book.
It's an amazing story, one I did not expect also. Let's be honest, without the song, there is no book. There are 6,000 shipwrecks in the Great Lakes, and everyone knows one. It's because of the song, naturally. But Gordon Lightfoot was an avid sailor. He'd done the Port Huron to Mackinac race, which I've done. It was quite rigorous. He knew what Lake Superior was all about. The night he was writing the song, November 10th, 1975, is the night the ship was going down. And even the winds were howling in Toronto. And he thought, man, it must be hell on Superior tonight. And he's right about that, naturally. Excuse me. So he starts writing the song. He gets it 95%, maybe higher, accurate. He did a very good job in the song. He did not want to perform it for his band even. He's too sensitive about it, too self-conscious. But they're recording their next album in Toronto. And after 3.5 days, they have all 11 songs done, not this one. This was not supposed to be on the album. And when they finished early, the producer said, hey man, you've got the studio rented for 5 days, and it's only been 3.5. Why don't you try that song you've been screwing around with? And he said, no, it's not ready. But he finally got talked into it. And he says, dim the lights. He's quiet for a minute, and the drummer asks him, Barry Keane, what do you want me to do? He's never even heard the song. And Lightfoot says, I'll give you a nod when I want you to come in. So sure enough, at 1:34, like a minute and a half, he nods to Barry Keane, who comes in with that thunderous drum bit, which we now, of course, know is iconic. And at 6.5 minutes later, they finished the song. And they thought, wow, that wasn't half bad. So let's try it again. They tried it again a few more times that day. They came back the next day and tried it a few more times. And none of them were as good as the first time they played it. The song you hear on the radio is not just a first take. It's the first time the band ever played the song. And Barry Keane has been on 500 albums. I'm not kidding. He said, first takes happen once in a blue moon. But first time you ever played it, that is unheard of. Never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever. And I asked him why. And he said, this is not a song that you think your way through. It's a song you've got to feel. And the more you feel it, the more the listener's going to feel it also. And that's why that version is the one you hear.
And so, of course, that song really helped immortalize the story of the Edmund Fitzgerald. But I'm curious, what do you think really makes the story of the Edmund Fitzgerald so captivating that so many people are still talking about it 50 years later? Do you think it's just that song, or do you think that there's more there?
There's more to it. Certainly the song registers, of course. Two is the mystery of it, and we don't quite solve that even in this book. We get closer to it, I think. But there are no witnesses. And as Ruth Hudson, the mother of Bruce Hudson, her only child, as she said, only 30 know, 29 men and God, and none of them are talking. So we'll never fully know that. So the mystery, I think, draws people to it as well. And finally, two stunning stats. As I said, between 1875 and 1975, 6,000 commercial shipwrecks occurred on the Great Lakes. That's a stunning number. It's one per week for a century. Since the Edmund Fitzgerald, November 10th, 1975, there have been zero. So you go from 6,000 for a century to zero for half a century. So it's kind of like 9/11 for us, basically, for the shipping industry. It's the last one that we can talk about, essentially. So that also, I think, keeps it alive. And finally, we have these stories now coming out that are also going to keep it alive, I think, for many years.
Well, John, thank you so much for stopping by. Of course, Gales of November is out now. Thanks so much for sharing a bit of the story with us.
Madeline, thank you.